Hi there, it's the first video I've done in about 6 months, probably more than that, about 10 months. Apologies for not doing more. My name's Jamie, I'm always doing this for Mental Matters. You might remember kind of briefly from last time I did a video on my experience with OCD, how it affected me, kind of turned my life upside down, and how for a long time I was very depressed about it, and I really kind of felt like I couldn't go on, my life had been ruined. It kind of tied in with the previous World Cup it was on at the time, and things were starting to go wrong in my head, and I started to really suffer. And then obviously after that, for a few years, things got out of control and got an awful lot worse. And it's only really been in the past sort of 15 months or so, or even less than that, probably the last 12 months or so, that I actually began to recover. And again, kind of coincidentally, really, it's kind of tied in with the World Cup. Coincidentally, I just think the kind of last 4 years have just been an absolute learning curve. It's just been an absolute crazy experience. I think the word brain fart is probably the kind of best way to describe it. So much has happened. I've learned so much about myself. I've been through so much. I've been through experiences that, I never want to experience again, but through being diagnosed with OCD, through learning about OCD, and through challenging OCD, I've learned so much more about myself. I've learned I'm a much stronger person than I realised, much more determined person than I realised, and although I'm always going to have it, I'm always going to kind of suffer from intrusive thoughts to more of an extent than others, and I'm going to struggle with them more than others. I've got it under wraps, and compared to where I was in the build up to the South Africa World Cup, it's night and day. I've actually got my life back, and it's something that I never really thought I'd be able to say. 3 or 4 years ago when this all began, it's not been easy. I think a hell of a lot more has to be done. One, by the NHS, who I think aren't doing anywhere near enough to prioritise mental illness. That's probably a rant for another day, but the time frame that I had to wait for cognitive behavioural therapy was just not good enough. If it hadn't been for private therapy, then I don't know if I'd be alive. It's probably not extreme saying that. I really don't know if I could have coped without private therapy, which of course I had to pay for. Others might not be in a position where they can afford that. Be so lucky. I live at home, so I don't have many costs to pay. But again, this is pretty unplanned, so if I feel like I'm waffling just like first time round, apologies. I'm trying to stick to some sort of structure. Really what got me through was cognitive behavioural therapy, CBT. It's not for everyone. Personally, I found it to be incredibly useful. I found it to be a lifesaver. At the start, nothing happened. It takes a while to understand the process. It takes a while to understand what you're being asked to do. It is essentially recognising when you're having an obsessive thought, and not keeping it going by refusing to carry out compulsions. Now, at the start, that goes against every natural instinct you have, because you want to get rid of this thought, and the quickest way you can get rid of a thought is to have a compulsion, which is essentially, for people who don't know, a counter thought or a counter action to make it go away, to make yourself feel better. At the start, it feels like you're dying. Basically, your head's going to explode when you're kind of fighting the compulsions. But in the end, it gets easier and easier. The problem with OCD is that when you defeat it in one area, it attaches itself to another area. So although I have essentially beaten the main themes, I've beaten 100% the main themes which attach themselves to my OCD initially, like identity. There's been kind of 3 or 4 spin-offs which have troubled me, not to the same extent, but it's still been obsessive. And I've really found kind of CBT, and what I've learned from CBT has helped me kind of recognise that I'm being obsessive, and it helps me combat it. As I say, it's not easy. It isn't something they'll be fixed overnight. It takes a hell of a lot of discipline. It takes a hell of a lot of mental strength. Yeah, it's kind of mental strength and discipline that I didn't think I had. But cliched as it sounds, patronising as it sounds, I'm an average person. I don't have any super talents. I don't have any crazy mental strength. I'm an average person. I'm an average guy. I did it. So anyone watching this, or anyone with any kind of form of mental illness or OCD for that matter, can get their life back. They can do it, in my opinion, through CBT. There are other ways as well. Find something that works for you, stick to it. And the stage that I had to get to, the stage that I got to personally, was that my mantra was, I'm either going to get better or I'm going to die trying. That sounds extreme, but that's what I was up against. I didn't have a choice. I either sunk or I swam. And, luckily for me it worked. As I say, it takes time. Find something that works for you, stick to it, and be relentless. I can only speak for OCD. I know that CBT covers other mental illnesses as well. I wouldn't want to comment about depression, schizophrenia, eating disorders, i.e. I can only talk from a personal experience of OCD. I don't believe that any other mental illness is untreatable. I believe that if OCD can be identified and stamped out, then others can as well. It's just the main kind of technique that you have to use in fighting any mental illness is just defiance, pure defiance. It's not ideal. It'd be a hell of a lot easier if there was a pill or a button you could press to make it go away, but as of now there isn't. Medically, I pray to God there will be in the future, but there isn't. You just have to be defiant. CBT therapy can only go so far. If you walk out that door and you go back to old ways, then you'll never succeed. You need to be your own therapist. You need to be your own therapist here. You need to be strong, you need to be relentless, and you need to be aware. That's me just about wrapping it up. Good luck to anyone who suffers from mental illness. It's a terrible trauma that is probably now beginning to be properly appreciated and recognised by society. There's a long, long way to go. Personally, I'm going to start in September. I'm hopefully starting a lifelong career as a mental health nurse or a mental health specialist. This illness, despite it being horrendous, has been a blessing in that extent that it's given me another life goal. It's given me something to fight for. It's given me something to campaign for. Mental illness is terrible, and there's still a big stigma attached to it which has to go before people can properly be open and honest about it, and that's what we all need to fight for. But as I say, if you're suffering from any mental illness, just talk, get help, and then fight with everything you have. But, thanks for watching. If you have, thank you.